Hey guys, welcome to the studio and come on in. Make yourself comfortable. And speaking of studios, it seems like everybody nowadays has a studio. If you've got a computer, you've got a studio, and that's really fantastic. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of music out there nowadays, but in my opinion, I think a lot of it really isn't so great. A lot of it is fantastic, blows me away, but there's just so much of it. And like I say, everybody's got a studio and the ability to record something that sounds clean and isn't doesn't seem that difficult nowadays as compared to what it might have been years ago, where you had to have proper mic placement and the right equipment and a great engineer and all that. And I'm not saying that all that isn't valid, because I think that is very important that you have the right equipment and a good studio. But I think sometimes we just get kind of hung up on details and the fact that people are discussing which plugin is better over another plugin, which 1176 Uri plugin is better than the other one, is the Waves plugin better than the Slate plugins and the UAD. And I think they're all fine, and yes, there are differences, but I think we're honing in on the details too much. And I think really what's important, and I mention this from time to time in my videos, is it's really your ears. It's the most thing that's important. And if you go to music school, you'll find that a lot of them will have ear training classes, which teaches you to listen to the intervals. And so if somebody's playing something and you're not watching what they're playing, or somebody's playing something on the piano, you can tell what chord that is, whether that's a major seventh chord or dominant seventh, or some of the easier ones, whether it's a minor chord or major chord. You can hear the fifth interval or a sixth interval. And I'm not going to get too technical with you musically, notation wise, but the ear training classes are, and what you can do to help your ears out, I think is really the most important, rather than honing in. Now, like I say, there's a gazillion YouTubes, and I've kind of glossed over some of them in the past, where how to use a compressor and all that. And there's so many of those videos, but I think we just get so hung up on these details that we're really not developing really what we've already got. And I can't stress that that's the most important thing. If you can't hear what sounds good and what sounds bad, or actually what you're hearing and being able to describe it to another musician, you're just struggling, because your ears and your brain have to be connected. Now, I don't know any way to really put it any better or more bluntly, but if somebody's really lousy playing on their instrument and you can't really hear that because they've recorded it nicely, then that's a problem. And I think that's what's really happening nowadays, is there are a lot of people that aren't really so great musicians, but they're able to record themselves in a what would be a high quality method as compared to years ago. They're not struggling with tape hiss, and you're not just struggling with distortion. In fact, a lot of people are just taking loops that are already pre-recorded, or sample-based machines, or synthesizers, and so it's very easy to get a good sound, very easy to get a good drum sound, and even with the simulations for the guitar amps and that sort of thing, you can get great guitar sounds. But a lot of times people just think, well, I can just plug into those and sound great, and I think initially they may sound great, but I think that if your ears aren't really discerning what's really quality, and I'm really throwing these terms and kind of double terming these things, that if you're not really hearing what's really sounding good and what's really sounding bad, I think you're at a big disadvantage to other musicians that are doing high caliber stuff, and who you might find that you might be trying to get a share of the market that they're being successful in. So, what am I saying? Develop your ears and work on making something that that you can hear, that you can hear the differences. And this is a tough one here. I'm just kind of rambling on, and I haven't made a video in a while, and so I really kind of have been putting the thought into what to say. And I really thought that really the most important thing is don't fuss so much over the details. We can just get so wrapped up in the details, but get wrapped up in your ears. I don't know what else to say. I think I've rambled on for 5 or 6 minutes now, so I'm going to cut it off. Anyway, check you out later, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Ears, later.